Davies in the middle. Checks back against Carter and scores. That is atypical for the Myanmar goal.
Quickly gets it back again. Oh, what a goal! Well, that sums up her season. The Gunners are WSL champions.
Stina, Blackstenius'd, Leah Harbert. Well, it's been a bit of a maniac weekend, hasn't it? Welcome to a Vic Akers Wonderland. Well, to join me for the madness is Lottie. How are you?
Yeah, I'm all right. Arsenal did the most Arsenal thing possible. But yeah, mind blown. Title race is officially wide open. Again.
And joining us, as always, is the very mystical and Adam. We need to know what the next lottery numbers are. Do you reckon you can give us that?
Well, I could tell you, but
forget the lottery. We need to know if the Arsenal men are going to win the league or not. Can we just get that straight? Yeah.
The problem is, I've got to be careful with this power, because if I predict the result now, the fragments in the space-time continuum could alter what we see in the future. There are only certain moments that I can tap into the superpower of guessing that, like all Arsenal Man City games, it will finish 2-1. I got lucky twice, and I do. There is a level of smugness that comes with it, and also the fact I know that I will not predict anything correct for the rest of the season. And to prove that, I'm predicting that Chelsea are going to win the league and Man City are going to win the Premier League. There you go.
Right. So this is going to be a bit of a fun one, because I'm going to actually do a little bit of a... I remember doing the transfer window last year with you, and I asked you around that time what was on your list for player-wise. But what I'm going to do this time around for our little opener is, what positions would you be looking to get in the window? You don't have to think about player.
No, it's a good question. Yeah.
Or position-wise, I'd say. I originally said 5, but I'd say between 3 and 5.
What, 5 positions?
Do you reckon you could? I was saying you can pick up to 5 positions. So for me, I would probably pick goalkeeper, left back, maybe centre mid, but I think we were right there. Definitely on the left wing, and potentially striker.
Okay, I'll go with that. So goalkeeper, I think we're going to see a departure there. I think we can probably see where the wind is blowing, and we've seen Tom Gary's sports sort of coup, what do you call it? Scoop, sorry, around Arsenal may be interested in the goalkeeper. So I'm predicting that, I think a goalkeeper, and it would make sense to do so. Left wing, I think that's the priority. I think the priority is left wing because Hurtig hasn't played, and I think that's really impacted our left wing options. I think, I would say right wing, but Lacasse can play the right wing as well. I think anywhere else, because you mentioned centre mid, I think centre mid's fine. I think we've got enough options at left back, enough options at right back, enough options at centre back. Although that being said, Amanda is at long term. I think any other key position would depend on departures first, or players, say, who aren't signing contract extensions and are leaving the club. So I think the departures will typically happen first. So once we know who's left, then we'll know. We do know the squad is at its limit pretty much. So that's why I think people have got to leave before coming in. I would say highest priority is, if there's one position in the team, it's left wing. That's the one. That's one of the missing pieces in the jigsaw for me, is left wing.
Is there anything a bit different?
No, that left wing. I mean, there's just no sort of competing for that spot. It's always the same person, or it's the sling Chloe Lacasse. So, maybe a goalkeeper. because Manu's going to be going on maternity or paternity leave?
No,
Wording.
no.
It's 50-50, isn't it? Because I don't know if it's maternity or paternity, but
Yeah,
you'd
so
imagine that
there's
she wouldn't be
it's the
available.
keeper and then that left wing that's annoying me at the minute. As Adam said, it all depends on departures.
If Saf departs, then I would expect us to sign a keeper. That's the way I see it.
Yeah, but the thing is, even if it's just for me, it's more of a temporary one again for Manu. 'Cause, like I think she's entitled to X amount of time off.
Especially if you've got the Euros qualifications coming up, you don't know whether or not she's going to be there for Austria, which would be a huge bit miss for them. We'll go on to the news then. So the under-17s Lioness kicked off this Saturday. Last Saturday. They were playing against Norway. But quick congratulations to the Arsenal players, Hope McSheffrey of the goalkeeper, defenders Ava Gray, Sophie Harrison, Neve Peacock, and midfielders Leah Harbert and Omatara Janid. On that, you may have seen our tweets. England won that game with 3-0. Erica Parkinson of FC Valadares in Portugal. So this is a bit of a bizarre one. You never really see a player who represent England under whatever
17, is it? Or
under if it's the youth at the youth levels, was what I'm trying to say. Playing for a club in Portugal, which I thought was quite interesting. Yeah. She's a very, very good player, and I'll be interested to see what happens with her over the next couple of years. Leah Harbert got a hell of a goal. For those wondering, we have seen, if you have seen our Twitter feed or a couple of tweets, she absolutely rockets that into the top corner to make it 2-0. And Izzy Burton very lucky with the third one, because it just basically just popped from one post to the other to eventually just trickle in, and it's just means England are closer to going up. Now they've got 2 more games in that group. They've got one tomorrow, which will be Wednesday, and they also have one next Saturday as well on the BBC. If you do check our socials, we'll try and keep you covered as much as possible on those as it carries on. Congratulations also to AS Roma, Bayern Munich and Barcelona. They have all retrospectively won their league titles. And
Matt, I think you mean respectively, not retrospectively implies you've done it in the past.
Well, Roma have done it in the past. Bayern Munich have done it in the past. Done it
this time.
Barcelona have done it in the past. They've done it all. They've done it all. So, with that being said, there is also a huge news for them, because they all get the opportunity to play in the Champions League. These are games that we might want to be involved in, potentially in the group stage.
Well, it gets a bit interesting with that, because you've got to think we're likely going to be going through the qualifiers. So you think, who is finishing second place, who's finishing third place in those leagues? Because those are the teams we could be drawn against. We could be drawn against Paris FC again, for example. Wolfsburg, if they finish second, well, they'll be in the playoffs. I mean, we saw they actually got knocked out of the playoffs last time around. They won't want that again. If we draw Wolfsburg in a playoff for the Champions League, again, it all goes down the champions and path and the league path, and it all gets the draw. It's very confusing. I don't quite know how we would line up seeding wise, but it's congratulations to those teams. They're in the group stage, but it's the ones that are the runners up. Those are the ones I've got my eye on, thinking, who are we likely to face? Because I think, despite the result of the weekend, I think third place is very much likely where we're going to finish. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see who we get.
Lottie, any favourites for you to pick a play potentially in the group stage if Arsenal get?
Absolutely not a Scooby-Doo. I don't follow any other leagues, so that's a bit of a wasted question on me. I just hope it's not Paris FC again, I suppose. Don't want to repeat that, thank you.
With that, we'll concentrate on the TV schedule for the final day, which hasn't been decided yet, and we already know who's going to be picked. Basically, it'll be between both Man City, this game against Aston Villa, and also Chelsea taking on Manchester United at Old Trafford.
Actually, Matt, sorry, just going back to your question, I wouldn't mind taking on Hammarby at this point. I'd love to go away to Hammarby.
You'd go out for the qualifiers. You'd go over for
Absolutely. Absolutely. I've been wanting to go to Hammarby. There's such a massive following over there. And plus, it's a certain players' ex-club, so I want to go check that out.
Right. Okay.
So you can go and pick up a winners
I
medal
know.
as
I
well.
just had a look at the Dalmarsh-Svensken table. So at the moment, Hammarby are sitting in second. So we'll see. We'll see how it plays out.
Yes. So TV schedule's not been decided yet. We expect it to be both Chelsea and Man City involved for that one. However, we will most likely be able to see our game on the F8 player. So a little bit of sad news with Fran Kirby leaving Chelsea at the end of the season. Very emotional video if you did manage to watch it. I only watched, I think it was the last minute of it, which was clipped up. She was pretty much in tears. Is what, just to put it into perspective, oh my God, perspective, Fran Kirby is one of those players that I saw. Adam, you probably put this into better words on Twitter. She really rose to the occasion when it was 2015 World Cup. She was leading the line for England.
Yeah, so for those of you who don't know, so 2015, that World Cup was a major moment in women's football in our country. We just come off back of a really bad Euros. We got out in the group stage and we were awful. So no one had really any expectations going into the World Cup at Canada. We'd lost our opening game to France, didn't play great. Came up against the team, I forget, I think it might have been Mexico. Matt's welcome to correct me. We had Mexico and Colombia, I think, in our group. 0-0 at half time. Fran Kirby's thrown on and scores a brilliant goal, a little bit of individual magic. And she was at Reading at the time. She hadn't moved to Chelsea then. And she was sort of a rising, sort of young star in the WSL, and Mark Sampson picked her. And after the game, he gave her the moniker Mini Messi. She didn't really sort of set the rest of the tournament alight. That was sort of like her moment in the tournament. But she was obviously a very young, very raw talent. That World Cup, we ended up finishing third place. And then her career went from sort of strength to strength after that. Chelsea picked her up. I think it was, someone mentioned it to me on Twitter, that signing sort of signified the moment when Chelsea signed Kirby from Reading. That signified the moment when Chelsea sort of did a gear change and went up a level. The fact that Chelsea were able to sign a player like Fran Kirby, who I think Chelsea won the league that season. I think 2015 was the first time in the league. The fact that Chelsea were able to sign a talent like Fran Kirby and not Arsenal, who would, in the past would just hoovered up all the talent and kept on winning. That was the moment they kicked on. And a lot of people respect Fran Kirby. I know there's a lot of rivalry between Arsenal and Chelsea, but I spoke to Arsenal fans. A lot of Arsenal fans respect Fran Kirby and what a talent she is, and we've been on the end of that talent. And yeah, key part of us winning the Euros. And it's just sad that her last few years at Chelsea have been decimated by injuries and illness. It's really unfair on a player of that caliber. And if we're honest, this is probably the natural conclusion to her time at Chelsea. But the wave of success they've been on has been, in part, the other players who've helped as well. But Fran Kirby's been a key part of that. And she's a top scorer at Chelsea. And she's a WSL legend. And I, as much as we're Arsenal fans, we want Chelsea to suffer, etc. Taking my Arsenal hat off and looking at it in an unbiased way, wish her all the best, and just say thank you, Fran, for being an amazing player for England and for the WSL, and well done on an amazing career at Chelsea.
Lottie, it will be speculation about where she's going to be next. Some people are suggesting she's going to go to stay in the WSL. I have a feeling she might end up going into the NWSL, which is the American league. What are your thoughts? Is there anywhere you'd like to see her play?
If I'm honest, I've heard her preference is to stay here, but remain down south. There's a lot of talk at the moment of her going for a free transfer to Crystal Palace, but I'm pretty sure that's completely made up because I just can't see it. Although she's a free agent, it's possible. Apparently we're meant to be looking at her, and I'm like, no, she doesn't want to come to us. It's not going to happen. But there's a few people getting very excited about it, and it's just like, I don't think so. I don't think she'll go from Chelsea to us. It's just not going to happen.
I mean, I agree, Lottie, because it's obviously the rivalry that's existed over the years. It'd be like if we signed Millie Bright.
I mean,
or
she's
Sam
done over
Kerr.
200 appearances for Chelsea.
Yeah,
If
she's
anyone
not gonna
thinks
go
that she's
over.
going to come to the Arsenal,
And I think we've also got to be careful that, with anyone signing Frank Kirby, is you've got to look at it through the lens of now and not of the lens of, say, 2017, 2018, when she was like player of the season, scoring goals for fun. When Chelsea were really starting to crank up their dominance, winning the Spring Series, winning the WSL, winning the FA Cup. You've got to be careful. That Frank Kirby has sadly probably gone, and we have this Frank Kirby now. So that's, I think, a team like Palace, a team lower down in the WSL, would be more ideal. Whether she'd be happy to do that, I don't know. The problem is, would she be happy in the Championship? I mean, I thought, maybe a return to Reading, but Reading are in such a state, I can't see them picking her up either.
what
I think she might retire.
she might. You don't know. The thing is,
Go
she's
in.
30 now.
She's in her 30s, but she could go into like punditry. She was doing punditry
Yeah,
at the
she
World
was
Cup.
brilliant. That's what I was just thinking. I was just going to say, like, her punditry was great. I wouldn't mind having her there. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, the Olympics is coming up. You got the Euro qualifiers coming up. You got Euros next summer, and then obviously you got the new season on the horizon. So why not?
I mean, I look at Farrah Williams, and she went from playing for Liverpool and then Arsenal, and then did sort of slowly drop down the league and played Reading in her final years, and then obviously retired. I just look at someone like Fran. I don't think another club would offer Fran what Chelsea have given her over these years, and that's where I sort of stand. So I think any club that signs, I think it'd be difficult for Fran to find a club that she'd be happy with, like she was at Chelsea. That's the sort of way I see it. And I think what purpose she would have for playing for another club again, because I don't think there'd be a club that will match maybe her ambition, winning trophies like Chelsea have given her for the last few years. And that's why I think maybe she might think, you know what, it's been a good run, I'll hang up my boots. And she went into punditry. I think she would be amazing.
So one of the reasons why I'm bringing this up is actually, in fact, Steph Horton said goodbye. And when you look at the way that it was done through the TV company, Sky did really well. They just let it just naturally. TV cameras don't need the commentary, and just you got to hear everything. Have both of you seen it or not? Because it is available on the YouTube.
I haven't. Purely because I was waiting for it to flick over and they were doing too much talking on the sideline.
If you do watch it, it's on the YouTube channel now.
So I think so the Sky did a big in-depth thing also with Frank Kirby in the ending, with her at the end of at Kings Meadow, and obviously Emma Hayes had her speech at the end. And the impression I got with the BBC, the problem with the BBC is that they're very much wedged in the schedule because they're not a dedicated sports broadcast. So it's pretty much show the game, get 5-10 minutes of interviews, and then it's off onto the next programme, whatever it is on Sunday, I don't know, songs of praise, whatever. Whereas Sky Sports, they can just dig in and indulge on the moment because they can, because all what's going to happen on the next show is just going to be a Premier League game from like 2002 or something, or like, Premier League Hall of Fame will interview Paul Scholes or something. So there's a dead slot afterwards. They can just go on longer and indulge in Frank Kirby's last, few moments and her, there was applause and flowers and speech and so forth. Because the BBC can't do that, and it did seem like it all got a bit panicky at the end. We sort of saw the walkout, but there was no sort of audio on it. They were chopping to an interview with Stina at full time. It was a bit of a mess, which was a shame because a player like Steph Horton warrants a proper sort of send off. Again, I could do a whole piece like I did with just with Frank Kirby, just another legend of the game. And sadly, this is happening a lot now. A lot of these players, Steph Horton's been there since the start of the WSL. Her time has come to an end. I've been, for those of you who know, I've put up a lot of clips above from Arsenal games of old. A lot of those players are reaching the end of their days. Zelda Nobbs, retirement will come probably in the next 3-4 years. Sadly, so will Kim Littles. And, we are reaching the end game of a lot of these players. And, Steph Horton's another one, just legend, doesn't even come close to measuring what she was for England. Sad how obviously her career ended with England, but with Man City, took Man City from nothing to trophy winners. And like Frank Kirby, wish her all the best.
One more leaving. This one is a bit of a still the Arsenal connection. Marianne Spacey Kale, who was the manager at Southampton, she has now been told, she's made it public that she won't be managing Southampton next season. She's now going to move on to work in the women's and girls development, still at Southampton. So she'll be working almost like, I would say the best way to describe it is you're almost like an Edu type, where you're being the technical director, but you're focusing more on the talent that's coming through than going and picking certain players from everywhere.
So you're basically saying that she's got Per Mertesaker's job at Southampton.
Pretty much, yes. I think she's going to have a larger role, though, because the idea is that she knows these girls quite well. So
no, I get what you're saying, but Per Mertesaker's the tip top of the academy. He knows all the kids.
Yeah.
So yeah,
it's an interesting move because it's very different. You know, she's going away from being on the front line, and I think we can probably say she's doing a rather good job with Southampton. Obviously, didn't get promoted, but they were in the mix for quite some time. So one would hope that they have a replacement. Replacement sounds like a wrong word because she's still at the club, but somebody else to take up the mantle of being the manager who they think will take them into the WSL. It's an interesting move. But yeah, Marianne Spacey Cowell, legend of Arsenal. Sadly, not one I ever saw play because she was a lot earlier in the Arsenal history. But yeah, did great things at Southampton, and best of luck with her new role.
So Michelle Agman has been a bit of a talking point at the moment, and this comes from Tim Stillman's little piece that he's written about what's the future holds for Michelle Agman. Lottie, there was options of talking about loans. We've mentioned it a few times. Was there one team that sort of you think she would suit?
I think she should go and play with Molecule up at Everton personally.
Will Molecule be there next season?
I actually didn't think about this until Tim actually mentioned this in his Arsblog newsletter. They're the closest team without the funds that play like us, and I think that's why we've benefited for so many years of loaning players to Everton. I mean, Matt, Molecule, has she improved since she's been up there?
She was a bit iffy to begin with, but she slowly found her feet, and that was the good thing. You could just tell that was confidence.
So she's now up there thriving. I think I do think they need a striker, and they have got the facilities to keep her injuries at bay, because Jonas did hint at Watford did not have the right facilities to kind of look after the injuries. He hinted at it. He didn't say it. He hinted. You can go back and look at the preview when Tim kind of asked about it, because I was like, that's a good point. And again, it was in the.
Didn't they have like one goalkeeper by the end of it, or they had like injured all their goalkeepers and they were down to
they had like one keeper, I think. And it's they're now they're the team that's going down from the championship now, unfortunately.
I think Everton would be a good call. I think Michelle needs to step up. It would either be a WSL. Either be a championship that's competing for the WSL. I
wouldn't object to her going to Crystal Palace though, either.
I thought the same. And I believe they had an ACL injury, didn't they? And there is a void that could be filled. And I think a championship side that's just come up, looking to sort of try and stay the course. They are Premier League backed. They've got a fighting chance. Would need, and someone like Michelle Agman, I think, would relish the chance to be that star to lead them on. Everton. We don't need to look at what's happened to Jess Park and Aki Beaver-Jones, the seasons they've had at their respective clubs since having the loan at Everton. Sadly for us, I mean, Gio didn't work out. But as you say, Molecule's done okay, and she's a starter now, isn't she, at Everton? She's not actually she's like a sub player. She's sort of been forced to start the games. Arsenal,
of course.
Apart from the Arsenal game, but we don't like to talk about Everton game. I wonder if maybe they might give her maybe Molecule, give her maybe a second run at a proper full season, not a half season like they did. If we get into through the European qualifiers and we get into the group stage, because the Conti Cup this season was great for bedding in the likes of Cooney Cross and Molecule, because it was opposition that was, no disrespect, but were at a level where they could play. If we're in Champions League group stages instead, I think likes of Molecule, the likes of Michelle Agman, send them to Everton or send them to Palace, or a club of that sort of level, and give them the season and say, well, come back in a year, and if you improved, some of our midfield may have changed. There may be a space in the attack or space in the midfield. We'll slot you in. So yeah, I can't wait to see what happens next season. But it looks like Adjumang could be a real star for us, which is quite promising.
I would have thrown another team out there, and it was going to be a bit of a wild skin, a team that have got some very experienced forwards, and that is Aston Villa. But it will depend on who comes in.
Well, we've palmed off a few players, haven't we, to Aston Villa?
Yeah, we have, to be fair. But it's also a case of, will she get the minutes there? I don't think she will.
I mean,
Ebony Salmon didn't get a sniff this season at all.
Alicia Lehman is basically injury prone. You look at Adriana Leone, she's very injury prone as well.
The thing is, they're also going to have that new manager bounce next season as well. So I think we'll be the start of the season. We'll see a very different side to Villa.
That's the other question. Is it, I mean, I don't know if this is some match to bring up, but just very quickly, Aston Villa. I mean, who with Carla Ward going, that's a very interesting seat to fill, because that's a really good. I think if a good young manager wanting to make their way in the WSL, I think that could be a really good place to sort of kick on. They've got a really good squad there, maybe not properly backed, but there's the minerals there to have a decent crack in it.
And lastly, very happy birthday to Freya Godfrey as well.
Yes.
Hope that you've been a wonderful day, or hope that she's had a wonderful day. Either way, we'll start now with the game itself. 17 minutes in, and it's a goal. I haven't even written.
What a cracker it was! Come on, we can't deny that.
It was a good goal.
Banging goal.
Haven't written down how it was, when, or anything like this. All I've got down is that it's slow reactions, 3-player overload every single time. Nobody closes down Lauren Hemp, and Hemp goes and scores the goal to make it 1-0.
Yeah, it comes from a long ball from Keating. We don't defend the first ball properly. Man City pick up the second ball. We know they're strong in wide areas with Kelly and Hemp. They press on us. The cross comes in. We think Fox wins the first header, but there's nobody to pick up the loose ball. Falls to RB, lays it back to Hemp, and Frida's there. Frida has to get tighter, so he has to block it. But I would say credit to Lauren Hemp, the way she spins Frida, and that shot on the angle with the power and the placement is just a really, really good finish. And I think Arsenal could have done better in the build-up to stop it, especially when Fox won the first header. I think it was Lacasse's wing. It might be either Lacasse or Beth, whoever should have been in that area. I think Beth was coming back on the left, so Lacasse should have been there to mop up. She wasn't, sadly, a feature on the edge of the box. But after that, I mean, the finish from Hemp is just brilliant, and what you'd expect from her this season.
I'll see Lauren Hemp again.
Oh yeah, no, I'm sorry. I thought I heard something outside. No, it was a cracking goal. I was like, okay, fair enough. They know what they want. They know they need the points for the game, because they win this game, and then it's all on Chelsea. But yeah, the Bristol ended up leaking more than a holy sock on a Sunday filled with water. But I probably could have used a better analogy there.
Well, it certainly gave me a few images now and then in there trying to visualise.
Just a sock with loads of holes in it, you know.
Yeah,
but preferably 8. But it's it's an absolutely wicked goal. I did like that, and I shamefully had her down on my fantasy football team, so I was like, I'll take that. But I think sort of after that we went into half time, and then they lost their heads. Let's just say that, and it was really disappointing. I think the pressure got to them. I'll be honest with you.
Just on halftime, because there wasn't really much else going on in the game. Some of the things I picked up on was the lack of awareness. City having 2 to 4 players boxing the Arsenal players in, forcing the long balls. Failure to close down the oppositions quick enough again. It just felt like a very groggy first half. Nothing was happening, and bear in mind that I haven't even mentioned that the starting 11, I haven't even got it in front of me, but Kim Little was on the bench. Kim Little comes on at half time. Just quickly, some first half stats. City had 9 shots, 3 of them were on, 3 of them were off, 3 of them blocked. City had an 88% percentage of pass completion. That Kiara Keating only made one save, and
That's from Freya.
and City won 46% of their duels. Arsenal had 5, one shot on, one shot off, 3 of them blocked. Arsenal, I think, had a higher percentage of pass completions. Right, there we go. It's 88, also 88%. Manu's made 3 saves, and Arsenal had won 54% of their duels. It also shows that just on the stats alone, the duels,
Yeah.
that was the key point, because it was trying to get those balls in and try and win as many of them as possible. And we'll look further down the right. Where does the winner come from? It comes from a duel that is won by Steam.
We lost in the mid. Yeah, it felt like if this was like an arm wrestle, and these games are usually very level, despite Man City's dominance, it felt like Man City got the early shove on, and they play like we expect them to do, which is dominate the possession, dominate the territory, push high, choke the opposition, so they can't play out properly because of their press, and deny us the passing lanes, and then it's crosses in the box, and if it's Bunny Shaw, it's crosses the Bunny Shaw's head and she can head in. But usually Man City, you get the first goal and then they rack up the score. They keep the boot on the throat, and they keep going. And you only have to look at last season when we played there, and it was diabolical. We were absolutely atrocious. Man City got the early goal. They should have been 4-0 up at half time. Just atrocious defending. They got the second, I think, just before half time, and that was it. It was game over. The second half was a null event. We got one back, but it was nothing. It seems like a minor point, but the key thing is Arsenal was still in the game at half time, and what surprised me is how ordinary Man City became as the game progressed. So I think they had the goal, the hemp effort. I think Chloe Kelly had an effort. It was a nice little move. It was a tame shot straight at Manu. But despite dominating the ball, dominating possession, dominating the territory, Man City offered very little in attack. It was Arsenal were able to. Arsenal weren't. I think people got quite negative about Arsenal because they weren't pushing forward and having really good attacking moments. And when they were getting the ball high up, they were often losing it. There was a lot of silly turnovers. I remember there was one before half time where Russo cannoned a pass off the back of one of our own players when it looked like we had a good turnover and we were going to score. But defensively, we were actually doing a lot of good stuff to prevent Man City from cutting us open. I think was it 5-0 they battered West Ham only the previous week. Yeah. We've seen them batter Liverpool, I think 5-1 early in the season. I think they beat like Spurs 7-0. They can really pull away if they want to. But what I've noticed a lot with Man City matches
sorry, Adam, I'm going to stop you there. At those high score lines, they had Bunny Shaw with them.
Well,
and
yes,
I think that was the major difference between
and
Sunday
the rest
of the season.
Yeah,
they've only lost 3 times there now at home this season.
They've lost 3 times this season, twice at home. We were the Brighton over team.
There we go.
We're the only team to do a double over them. I agree, Bunny Shaw is a huge loss, but Mary Fowler got a brace against Liverpool when they tore them apart in the second half. There is enough quality in that team to get the goals, but Shaw or no Shaw, if you look back at previous games against Gareth Taylor at Man City when Jonas has been in charge, they've always been very tight. Man City haven't destroyed us like they have other teams, even with Bunny Shaw playing. And usually Man City are very guilty of missing chances. Despite dominant, I think of the game at Meadow Park this season when we were a bit under the cosh, but Man City only got the 1 goal. And then the game the previous season, when the first half Man City dominated us, missed a load of chances. So whatever Arsenal are doing, it's clearly working. So we got to half time, and whilst attacking wise, we've been a bit limp, and I think that's probably down to the team selection. Defensively, I thought, you know what, we're in touch. If Jonas can get this right in the second half, we might have a chance.
Just on that first half, Lottie, was there anything that was an issue that you saw?
I just thought it was going to go the same as last week at this point. I was like, oh, here we go again, sort of thing. But I was kind of, what's the word for it? Skeptical after Jonas's interview. He didn't care about the league title. He just wanted us to perform well. And the fact that we did the most Arsenal thing possible is to go up there and win after after so long.
Mm.
It's the most Arsenal
7
thing
years.
we could have done. Yeah, exactly. But it's just, yeah, we've just blown the title race wide open again.
And just with that, half time comes around, Jonas decides, right, okay, enough of this. Kim Little comes on, and 74 minutes on the clock, we have a first yellow card. Leia Uhabi, should she have been sent off because of an earlier challenge on Katie McCabe?
No, I think McCabe was waving for a card. There was a funny moment, I think it is the first half, where we all thought McCabe had been booked for being fouled, and it's just the eternal sort of bias we have as fans and commentators, that if McCabe is near an incident and a yellow card is being waved, we think, it's McCabe. No, McCabe was fouled. No, I think for me, that wasn't the red card challenge of the game. For me, that actually was Chloe Lacasse. I think if any player was going to be sent,
she should have been sent off.
Yeah, we should be brutally honest here. Lacasse, I don't think, had a great game, and I think that was sort of proved when she went in on Casper Wright on the ankle, and that is a nasty challenge. And it's straight leg. It's right. The ankle moves. The foot actually moves. She was very lucky to get a yellow, and that is really disappointing because I expect better of Lacasse to not do something like that. And I think that was down to probably frustration on her part that she wasn't getting the joy that maybe she wanted. And I'm not surprised the likes of the Ford came on for her in the second half. We should say the start of the second half, Little came on. There's a bit of sort of confusion about whether Little why she wasn't starting. And I'm surprised Little didn't start for a game of this level. But at the same time, there's a question of maybe was she 100% fit? We don't know. But at some point, we've got to embrace not playing Little, because at some point that is going to be the norm. And we will go to Man City and we will go to Chelsea, and Kim Little will no longer be an option for us. And I think, you mentioned about performances, Lottie. I think this is the key thing. I think Jonas is saying, right, what are my options going into next season? Because our season's dead. We can't compete for the title. We are safely in top 3. It doesn't matter. Let's see what we got and what we can use next season. And I think, people have been screaming, especially you, Lottie. People have been screaming, Cara Cooney-Cross. Let's see Cara Cooney-Cross play. So we gave her the first half. If I'm going to be brutally honest, I only noticed her once, and that was when she made a tackle on the halfway line to stop a counter charge in the second half. And that was it. I was hoping to see those, Cooney-Cross passes, the big crossover switches. And I didn't really see that, sadly, which is a shame. I understand Kim Little on coming off of Frida. That made perfect sense. Again, I don't think Frida had a great game. And so it was great to see Kim come on, but it still just shows the over-reliance we have on a plus 30 player who has been playing with us since before the WSL started. Despite all the additions and improvements and changes, we're still reliant on Kim Little to win us games. And the fact we had to bring her on in the second half, it worked, but it still provides us that we still have a sole point of failure that we still haven't managed to work around. But yeah, credit to Jonas. Brought Kim Little on, brought Ford on, Steph on, Stina on. And I talked about arm wrestles. I think Man City had an early chance. I think it was Fowler. Really good save for Manu. But after that, nothing. And that's when the tide sort of turned and Arsenal got the pushback. And that was when the momentum swang. And I've never really seen Man City wilted in that second half. And I think it showed that Man City started with their good players, whereas Arsenal kept their aces on the bench and was able to turn the tide in the second half, as we'll get on to.
You've mentioned it a little bit, Adam, but last season at that game 2-0 down, and Leah Velti wasn't actually starting that game. She ended up coming on half time. So
yeah, she wasn't fully fit, was she?
It was a really weird one. But when you're 2-0 down at City, you're thinking who's going to be the difference? Well, the defensive midfielder who's got to be on that pitch, and there wasn't any.
But that in last season we were playing in a back 3. And Jonas has admitted since he's got the setup wrong for that one, because he was trying to copy what he did in the League Cup about a few days earlier. but the defensive setup was horrifically wrong. And so Leo Volti wasn't fully fit. So he brought on in the second half, went to a back four. We got a goal back. And in fairness, Stina hit the post early on. Maybe we could have clawed it back. I think this was less to do with a formation error. I think it was just simply when's Kim. Jonas mentioned this in the press conference afterwards. He said, when's the best time to use Kim Little? If I can only use her for, let's say, a half of the game, or the best opportunities in the second half, when you can use her more effectively. And I thought in the second half she was brilliant. I thought she was really, really good. And I think that, again, we'll talk about the contribution of other players, but that was one of the key reasons why we were able to sort of turn the tide.
Well, 2 minutes after Leo Uhabi gets the yellow card, 76 minutes on the clock, Caitlin Ford pulls wide from Stina Blackstenius'd. Was that the opportunity there, Lottie?
I think so. It was one of the first few, but we know from our wonderful goal poacher that like it's not going to always go in the first time. So it's. I think there's a little bit of communication missing there, but I'm not quite sure because Ford and Stina have been playing together for most of the season, so that shouldn't be an issue.
Is this the one where Stina played forward in behind?
Yes, and then all Caitlin has to do is just flick it over. Instead, she taps it and it just goes trickling but wide.
She should have just started it. That's what annoys me.
I would have been worried if we weren't making chances. And I think back to previous times against Man City when we've been there and it's like the game's a write-off. It's lambs to the slaughter because Man City are going to dominate us. It was really pleasing that we were making chances. I mean, I've been worried if we weren't. I think back, there was a game we had, I think it was in 2020, when we just spent the entire second half trapped in our own half as Man City just piled on and piled on and piled on and piled on, and eventually they won. But that didn't happen. It was the other way around. We were pushing them back, and we were getting really not just like scramble chances, really good chances. The Lycadina one at the start of the second half, and this Ford one. But when you're not scoring them, you do think. I mean, we know Ford hasn't had a great season, and this kind of summed it up. I think the Ford of last season slots that away. It's a really good chance, and she has to look better. It's just a really poor connection. We should say credit to the defence and the keeper. They rush her, they put pressure on her, but she has to do a lot better. When you're missing those chances, and was it 74 minutes? Was it 75 minutes? Time is against you. And you just think you're not going to get many chances. Man City, they said in the commentary notes, they don't lose until this game. They don't lose when they go ahead. They don't concede many goals. And I don't think someone could welcome to correct me, but I can't think of the top of my head of any game at home this season where they've conceded more than one goal. So you know that chance.
No, I think it was I think it was Brighton last season. They lost 2-0. I think it was 2-0.
We're talking last season. This season, they lost 1-0 to Brighton and obviously drew 1-0 with Chelsea. But I thought at least we are creating good chances.
It was a bizarre draw, though. Let's be serious.
Yeah,
had two players sent off. If I remember correctly.
The Chelsea game, the Chelsea game was bonkers. That was
2 players, and then Lana Kennedy got injured. So Chelsea got their equaliser by popping off.
So
essentially,
we know that they've got a good defensive setup. So I was just thinking, at least we're creating good chances. We're just hoping somebody's going to step up and just kick the ball in the net, because I think at the very least with what we were offering in the second half, I thought we deserve at least a draw. If we can just get a draw and we can go, that's a really good performance. We don't often get anything in Man City. We can get a point. That's great. Building block, move on.
But Stina says, no, I want one better.
Well, we'll get to that.
88 minutes on the clock. Stina Blackstenius'd with the goal. It was a very chaotic corner. Eventually ends up with Stina poking the ball afloat, and it floats over both Kiara Keating and Leila Uhabi into the back of the net. It was a magnificent goal. I'll be interested to see what happens with this one, if it's going to end up on one of the I don't know if it'll be goal of the month potentially, but it might be one of those ones that gets in with it was a contention for goal of the season, but I don't think it's goal of the season.
If she's going to get goal of the season, it's going to be the Conti Cup winner. I'm sorry, but let's be honest. There's a bit more meaning onto that. But with Stina Blackstenius'd, she is that big game player. She will turn up when needed. And that is what we got off the bench. And it makes me love her more. It makes me want her to stay. I don't want to lose her. I want her to stay because we don't have anyone with her skill set. Let's be honest. If not, we're going to have to find someone else that can do what she does. And we have to start this process of them settling in all over again. Because I feel like this season she's really found her feet. And it's just like, yeah, and like we don't make our jokes of her being offside anymore. And it's just, we love you, Stina. Please stay. Basically.
I've got a lot of fun with this goal because I was, as I always do, I would love tweeting the game. And we're having a lot of corners and set pieces, and I was being very pessimistic on them. And every time I had a corner, I was predicting, we've got a corner, but don't worry.
That's the problem, and then it works.
It's great. It gets better because I was saying every corner, saying, no, we're not going to worry. We've got a corner. Will we score from this? No. And then this one corner at the end, I didn't say anything. I just said, we've got a corner, and just left it at that. And then the corner comes in, and I tell you what, I said Man City great defensively, but this is a shambles. This is really poor from them. You've got to win your headers. I think they won one. And credit to Arsenal, they kept the move alive. They kept the ball. It was a bit sort of what they call ping pong in the box. It's a great header from forward to knock it out, and it's awareness from Stina just to get her foot on it. And I'll be honest, I wanted the goal. I don't see goals many. We don't score many goals at Man City, and I was hoping there'd be a goal, but it did catch me by surprise. I think not just because it was late, but also because it was from a set piece. Great, another a set piece goal. We can score them, but in that moment, and I know they rushed the ball back. I thought, there's enough time on the clock. I think it was just before added time.
Yeah.
And people said this, and then this is why momentum is so key. Arsenal had the momentum going into added time. Now, you could have forgiven them for going for a draw because it's away at Man City, fair enough. Jonas said in his pre-match conference, he said, if the chance is there, we're going for the win. He said it before the even game. He said, we want to win. Draw's going to go first. We're going to try and win every game as possible. And to be fair to Arsenal, they didn't sit back. They thought, no, we're going to go for it. And you can blame them because there's no stakes.
The thing is, I don't know if you saw everything like beforehand. Like everyone's heavily backing Man City. Even, dare I say it, Jess Park got a little bit cocky on her interview. Like, yeah, we're going to win. Da, 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 da. And it's always that kind of stuff that comes to bite you in the backside because she had a poor game. And I will say she had a poor game because I think she was rated 6.68 in the end in terms of XG and stuff. But I was just like, really disappointing because I usually like watching Jess Park. Since Matt started talking about it, I was like, I've got to check this player out and have a look. I actually quite enjoy it. And I was really quite disappointed with her performance. But it's nice. It's nice when the underdog wins, and especially when it's us.
It's rare.
Great.
It's rare when it's the underdog. I think this shows a lot about Gareth Taylor. We'll get on to obviously the winning goal in a bit, but Man City came into this for a 14-match winning run, and I've been adamant throughout the season that they won't be able to ride that until the end. That will end. And I'll be honest, it's been sailing quite close to the wings because at this point we were only 2 games out. And thought, you know what, maybe they, and then inevitably, like last season, lost away at Liverpool, lost away at Man United. They, as they always do under Gareth Taylor, they've gone for a big sprint and then they've fallen splat on their face right at the end of the season. And I know we were all having a joke at Emma Hayes and Chelsea because they lost 4-3 at Liverpool and it was very funny and the title was in Man City's hands for definite, not just goal difference. It was definitely in their hands. That puts pressure. That puts unique pressure on your team because suddenly it's in your hands to win.
That I don't like this phrase, but I'm going to use it. Would you say City have bottled it?
Yeah, I think that this is the first time I can think of when Man City have the title mathematically in their hands. There's no if they simply win their games, and this late in the season, it's not like it's in your hands with 10 games to go. It's in your hand with 2 games to go. You're playing a team that has nothing to play for, and that you have not lost to in 7 years. You got that, and then you got Aston Villa away. Okay, you lost there last season, but Villa aren't the team they were last season. So it's in your hands, and you've got games you can win. And I think Emma Hayes. I think she was being quite open and emotional. Not the Emma Hayes maybe we know because she usually chooses her work quite carefully. She threw in the towel. I don't think it was intentional to put pressure. I think she probably genuinely thought the title had gone because of how we know these things play out. But I think that put pressure on Man City because suddenly it's not we're competing for the title, as in we try to hope Chelsea slip up. They're in the position because Chelsea slipped up, and suddenly they've got to take the initiative and finish the job, and they couldn't do it. They couldn't do it, and they showed it in the performance. They didn't kick on. I think they got nervous. I think they saw that Arsenal were cranking up the pressure, and they sat back. They sat on a 1-goal lead, and that is a heck of a gamble. And if they see it out, fair play to them. They go on and probably win the league. We'll win the league, but it hasn't been decided yet. But the fact they did that and they didn't think, right, we're going to kick on and push Arsenal and try and get the second goal. They didn't. And I think the pressure got to them, and they welcomed the Arsenal pressure. They probably thought they could see it out, which is a bit arrogant, really. Well, the commentators actually said, I think just before the equaliser, Arsenal have scored so many late goals in the WSL this season, probably the most in the season. So seeing that happen was a bit of a surprise. And then got the equaliser. I thought, well, Arsenal going to go for it. Had no Man City offered no response. I think to them it was like they were just thinking, well, we've got to hold on for the draw now. They had nothing to give. Arsenal pushed on. They gambled, and I think it's fair to say the gamble paid off.
So, with the closing of the game, the ball goes up, 90 minutes on the clock, and this was a lovely ball. I didn't realise who actually made the ball. It was a Kim Little long ball into Stina Blackstenius'd, and she heads it home. This was the moment I just stood up and went, "Oh my God!" Robin Cohen also repeated those words. So hats off to her, because I think we're all thinking the same thing, that it actually happened. It's just very typical Arsenal to to go and score like that, and for all people, Stina Blackstenius'd to score it.
It's a really good header, and I was surprised because I thought she was offside because she was so clear of the last defender, like right, bizarrely so. And no, I think it's Greenwood. She just falls asleep. She just loses Stina, literally the crossing. We should say Kim Little has a really good moment beforehand. She has
actually see her falling asleep completely, because the amount of distance in the photo from the Arsenal web, like the photos from the match day.
Yeah.
You can see the distance. You can see she's not switched on to where Stina is, and I think that is what a really basic mistake to do. Like, she didn't look over her shoulder. I was watching her and was like, didn't look over her shoulder. Wasn't aware where Stina Blackstenius'd was, and I think that's what benefited us.
Absolutely. We should say Kim Little, just before the goal, had a really good sort of spin on the edge of the Man City box. So they just cleared the ball and they're looking to counter. Classic Kim. Retains the ball into the box, a bit of trickery, gets the ball up wide, they cycle it round. Kim, brilliant cross. It reminded me of when we scored against Spurs at Emirates Stadium. Kim flipped a similar ball in over to Mead that set up the Russo goal. It was a lovely ball in. And Greenwood, for such an experienced defender, and she's been brilliant this season, we should say, with Greenwood. She's been really good at the heart of the Man City defence. To just, in that moment, just not lose it. And Stina, really good times of run, sneaks up behind. And it's such an easy header. It's criminally easy. She hasn't had to jump. She hasn't had to steer. She's literally just nodded it. I think it is down to the fact that the mentally they just crumbled right at the end, and they just stopped doing the basics, stopped playing how they should play. And out of nowhere, Arsenal have the lead away at Man City, which I think the last time we had the lead at Man City, Vivian Miedema scored after 5 minutes in 2020, and that went very badly, sadly. To be honest,
he doesn't know it.
Yeah, but after that, we had about 7 minutes so left, and I had no concerns whatsoever. I spoke about the Everton game and how we didn't manage it at all. We managed it really poorly, and Everton got a goal at the set piece at the end. Really impressive how we managed this game. We were taking it to the corner, winning corners deep. We were set up properly defensively, because obviously they're trying to throw balls in the box, and they just never looked like getting back into the game. And the best thing I could say about the way we managed the game, the added time flew by. I didn't realise, it's only when I looked at the clock and realised, we're at 9 minutes already. They really managed the game well, and it's one of the eternal frustrations of Arsenal is that it's a really good away performance and a really good away win. That means nothing. That's if you're going for the title, you think that's a really good win to the title, but it's ultimately meaningless. The damage has been done. But what it does do is give you confidence going to next season.
Yeah, no, it does do that, but it shows you what we're capable of
building
next season, and that's
absolutely
the main take from it. So we can go, oh, this is pointless, but it's not. This is the performances we kind of want to see. Or maybe not so much the first half, but the second half, yes.
No.
But it's just the stuff we want to
yeah.
see, and this is the stuff that makes you want to back the manager. And I know I can speak for all three of us, and we're like, I don't want especially me, I don't want the devil behind him, because who is there really? There's a massive question mark over who's replacing Carla Ward, etc. And there's a lot of grumblings in our own fan base, like, oh, let's get him out.
Would you take Carla Ward at Arsenal?
This, he's that. And it's like, do you know what? We've had ACL. We had an ACL crisis. We've had 2 trophies out of him. Like, no, we've had the season to recover. Now, next season, the league is blown wide open because there's no Emma Hayes.
I agree.
Go for it. I don't see why not.
Agree. No, I agree. And I think getting a win at Man City, a place we haven't won in 7 years, it's like, great. That's another psychological hurdle. It's like, we can win at Man. Obviously, we need to work on winning at Chelsea, obviously. But if you're going to win the league,
like it's more psychological for like the fans and the players that have been there a bit longer rather than the newer ones. If that makes sense, though.
Yeah, a lot of those players in that team won't have won. I think the only player in that team who would have won at Man City, probably Kim Little. Kim Little, just only Kim Little. Just to think, all the other players have come in recently. Maybe some of them might have been around in 2017 during the spring series. I can't quite place when Beth Mead came over, but certainly
Liam Williamson would have been around.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay,
sure.
Liam Williamson would definitely be one, and maybe Lottie if she was around there as well. But so few players, Palova, Blackstenius'd, Russo. I don't think she ever won there with Man United. So this is the first big win away from home, and I've said for ages, we haven't had an away scalp. If you want to win the league, the last time we won the league, we won away at Chelsea. You've got to get a scalping at some point. Now, obviously, for this season, it's too late. But the fact that we know we can do it, we can, and we can take that into next season. But the important thing is that's no guarantee. We have to take it into next season, and this is something that we can hopefully build on. I agree. I think Jonas warrants one more season to have a crack at it, or at least have a good crack at it. Push Chelsea to the end, or Man City, or whoever is going to lead the charge next season. But no, this gives me confidence, and the celebrations at the end. I think there's a lot of relief in there. I think a lot of fans are pessimistic during the game, thought we played a bit rubbish. I think maybe in retrospect, seeing how the game played out, might see it differently. And there was a lot of chance at the end of Stina Blackstenius'd who wanted to stay. I think we can all agree with that sentiment. I hope she does. And she certainly, if she was in the negotiating room, she certainly strengthened her hand with her late show. We should say, is that 4 goals? Four like post 80-minute goals against Man City? I'm thinking the League Cup last season, 3 goals this season.
Oh yes.
I mean, Man City. We finally found the kryptonite to Man City, and her name is Stina Blackstenius'd, clearly.
And we've had the pleasure of witnessing a sublime show of that in added extra time in the cold and in the rain and sleep and whatever weather happened that night as well.
Whatever the weather, Stina shows up right at the end.
Oh, absolutely. And I just, there's a lot of people out there that say, oh, she's always offside. We say it as a joke, but it has really massively improved this season, and I'm really happy with her, because I don't find us cracking our jokes like we did last season.
No.
That's a hats off to Kelly Smith as well for the coaching that she's doing with the strikers as well. We are slowly closing in on the show. So where can people find you, Adam?
You can find me at Adam Salter 4, where I, if you think my opinions are wild and edgy on this podcast, then check out my Twitter. Also, you can find the Arsenal Win archive. We're putting up a lot of Arsenal clips from days gone by. So I was mentioned about Kim Little. You can see Kim Little when she wore the number 16 shirt for Arsenal. In her younger days, still scoring worldies and still scoring penalties, still being an amazing player. You can find that at the AW archive, and we've got a lot of clips coming up through May, June and July. So do give that a follow, and keep an eye out for when the next update happens.
Where can the lovely people find you, Lottie?
You can find me at Lottie_AWC. You can actually, if you do want to find out what I get up to at the end of season, just go and follow my Instagram and my Twitter. It's going to be a little bit mental, as the end of season's day after day for both teams within the club.
You can find me at MattLR28. You can also follow the pod at VAW Pod. If you liked what you've seen or listened to, don't forget to hit that subscribe and just tug at that bell notification just to let you know that what's happening with our new shows. Give us a little bit of a hug on the subscribe button and a little bit of a TLC with the like button as well if you're on the YouTube channel. Thank you all for joining us, and we hope you have a great day. Come on, you Gunners.